England, winter 1546. You stand outside one of the most powerful palaces in Europe. Cold rain falls from the sky, mud sticks to your boots, smoke rises above London like a dark cloud, and somewhere behind those giant palace walls, Henry VIII is preparing for dinner. Not an ordinary dinner, a royal feast, the kind of feast most people today would look at and call magnificent. Tables covered in gold, roasted animals, endless wine, music echoing through candlelit halls. To the outside world, this was the image of absolute power. But if you were actually invited inside that palace, there's a very good chance you wouldn't survive it, because Tudor England was not clean, it was not healthy, and it was definitely not safe. The streets outside the palace were filled with human waste. Animals were butchered in public, water was contaminated, disease spread constantly, and nobody understood why. People did not know what bacteria were. They did not know how infection worked. They did not understand contamination. They only knew people got sick, and sometimes died very quickly. But inside Henry VIII's palace, things became even more dangerous. The moment you entered the royal kitchens, the illusion of luxury disappeared. The heat was unbearable. Huge fires burned day and night. Servants rushed in every direction. Knives slammed against wooden tables. Blood covered the floors. Smoke filled the air. Entire animals hung from hooks waiting to be cooked, and almost none of it was handled safely. The same hands touched raw meat and cooked meals. The same knives were reused constantly. Dirty cloths wiped everything. Food sat exposed for hours, and when meat started going bad, they covered the smell with spices, herbs, wine, and thick sauces. That wasn't just cooking, that was survival. Because refrigeration did not exist, food spoiled fast, especially in giant crowded kitchens feeding hundreds of people. But the royal court cared more about appearance than safety. The feast had to look powerful, and Henry VIII understood that better than anyone. By 1546, Henry VIII was already legendary across Europe, a king feared by enemies, a ruler obsessed with control, a man who reshaped England forever. But physically, the king was falling apart. Years of overeating and poor health had transformed him. The once athletic young ruler had become severely overweight. He struggled to walk. He suffered from chronic pain. His legs developed painful infected wounds, yet every night the feasts continued. Because royal dinners were not really about food, they were performances. Every candle in the hall, every silver plate, every servant movement, everything existed for one reason: to remind everyone who held power. And nothing displayed power better than excess: huge roasted boars, swans covered in decoration, massive pies filled with meat, rivers of wine flowing across the tables. The more food the king displayed, the stronger he appeared. But beneath the beauty, there was danger everywhere. Guests regularly became sick after feasts: food poisoning, parasites, contaminated drinks, stomach infections. And if you became ill in Tudor England, there was very little anyone could do. Medicine in the 1500s was terrifying. Doctors believed disease came from imbalances inside the body, so they used bloodletting, leeches, strange herbal mixtures. Sometimes the treatment was more dangerous than the illness itself. A simple infection could kill you, a fever could spiral out of control, even a small wound could become deadly. And then there was the fear nobody spoke about openly: poison. Inside royal courts, paranoia existed everywhere. Every servant could be a spy. Every noble could be an enemy. Every cup of wine could hide betrayal. That's why Henry VIII used food tasters. Before the king touched his meal, someone else had to eat first. Imagine that being your job, sitting in front of the most powerful ruler in England, knowing that if the food was poisoned, you would die before the king did. And in a palace filled with political tension, that fear was constant. Nobody fully trusted anyone, not the servants, not the nobles, sometimes not even family. Outside the palace walls, ordinary people struggled to survive another kind of battle: hunger, Cold winters, disease, filthy streets, unsafe drinking water. While nobles inside the palace drowned themselves in luxury, the poor fought over scraps. Sometimes leftover food from royal feasts was thrown outside the gates, and desperate crowds rushed toward it, because for many people, that was the only decent food they would see all week. That contrast defined Tudor England. Unimaginable wealth beside brutal suffering. And maybe that is the strangest part of all this. History often shows us the beauty first, the castles, the crowns, the grand feasts. But at